Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another episode of the Three View. Today, we are joined by Norwich Sea Captains head coach Kevin Cunningham. How's it going today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we'll kind of jump right on into things. So you guys finished second overall in the East Division last year, coming up just short of the Fraser Cup. Reflect on last season for us.
It was a really rewarding year, honestly. We're really happy with the progress that we've made in each of our seasons in Norwich. I thought that definitely continued throughout last season, and thought we were playing our best hockey at the end, which is always something that we talk about quite a bit in our locker room. It's
Mhm.
not how we start, it's how we finish. I thought I talked with our guys very early in the year about what we want Sea Captains hockey to look like, and that we hadn't really been able to do that for sustained periods of time in our team's history up through last season. And then I thought towards the end of last year, we really did that. Second half of the year. Our regular season was really, really strong, and then right through the playoffs. And kudos to Northeast for figuring out a way to take that series and go on to the Fraser Cup. But I think it was
Mhm.
a lot closer than the scores might indicate. And the games were a lot of fun, and so for us, it was really rewarding. We battled injuries all year, which always has an interesting effect on your team. But I
Mhm.
think for us, it allowed a next man up mentality to really establish itself in our room, and it gave some guys some opportunities that they may not have had otherwise, to get some consistent ice time and play in some situations and really learn. And I think a bunch of those guys are poised to put that experience to work this year. So overall, really rewarding season with a lot of growth. Bittersweet at the end in terms of not finishing out what we had hoped to do, but a good season nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as we kind of look at last season's statistics, you guys were the least penalized team in the league. Talk about the importance of being disciplined on the ice and, how you plan to replicate that for this upcoming year
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. Being a least penalized team is something that we actually talk about.
Okay.
In the league is great. I kind of focus a lot of our analysis, particularly when we talk about stats, more to the division, just because of the way the league works. But when we realized as we were getting near the end of the year that we were in a position to maybe have that, I'll be totally honest, it is something that we talked about. I think the discipline that we want to play with is reflected in that, and we coach to it. So it's not just like we say it and then expect it to happen. I mean, we watch video every Monday of the weekend. We look at every penalty that we've taken and every penalty that's taken against us.
Mhm.
And the ones that we take, we evaluate as avoidable or unavoidable. And so, getting rid of those nuisance penalties, chopping the back of a guy's legs after you get hit hard and your feelings are hurt. We don't need to kill those penalties. And so
Right.
that's something that we've talked about a lot. We want to be really hard to play against. And I think we're a physical, fast, high tempo, heavy team, but understanding what discipline means, doing what's required when it's required, and part of that is staying out of the boxes with those nuisance penalties. So I think it's not in and of itself. It's
Bless
not,
you.
I don't expect a plaque for that or a trophy, but I think it is indicative of how we want to play and how we want to hold ourselves as a group accountable for our discipline and how we go about playing the game every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we kind of look forward to this upcoming year, it will be your fourth year in Norwich. Talk about the expectations that you have for this new group coming in.
Again, another thing that we've talked quite a bit about this offseason, particularly with the guys who are going to be our captains, Tony Moran and Chase Levy, and about just understanding that as you get closer and closer to where you want to be, you can't see your win totals go up by the astronomical amounts that maybe they have in previous history of our program. The growth is more subtle, and the
Mhm.
growth is a little bit more nuanced, and sometimes it's only recognized within your group and the goals that you have for your group. So for us, a big part of it is about, we felt like that we kind of played ourselves into maybe the top third or so of the league, top 40%, maybe some days a little bit higher, maybe some days a little bit lower, but kind of into a conversation where we're keeping company with some really respected teams and franchises throughout the league, not just in our division, but throughout the width and breadth of the league. And that I think is important for us to stay there. Do we need to win just as many games, maybe a couple fewer, maybe a couple more? I care maybe a little bit less about that and a little bit more about kind of the eye test. And like when we go to the showcase, I want to play good teams and I want to be competitive against good teams. And so it's a little more touchy feely and a little less, a little less spreadsheets and checklists this year for us. But a big part of it is continuing to progress towards what we want our program to look like on and off the ice. And I think our guys have at this point in the year, we have the best understanding that we've ever had at this point for what that means and what that looks like. So I'm excited about what the potential is with this group.
Yeah, awesome. And you kind of touched on a few players, but talk about the returners that you're going to have that you're going to rely on both in the locker room and on the ice as well.
Yeah. I already mentioned, Tony and Chase and they're both guys. Tony's going into his fourth year with us, and he battled some injury issues last year, which is part of the reason he's back. He's a phenomenal human, a hockey junkie, and a guy who just loves the game and cares about his teammates. Chase is going into his second year with us. Colorado kid who did an awesome job for us last year, got better and better and better as the year wore on, distinguished himself as a leader really early with his values and his work ethic and the way he communicates. And I think for I'm really excited to have those guys. We've been fortunate to have great leadership since I've been here. Sean Loftus was our first ever captain, did a phenomenal job. And then Chris Hamilton and Timmy Hayden last year were both excellent. So they've got some big skates to fill, but I'm confident they'll do that. And then, up front, I'm really excited about seeing a kid like Glenn Farmer take another step forward. He's a guy that did a really, really good job for us last year in his first year. I think the biggest thing for him is just finding the consistency in terms of his production. Like I thought his effort was consistent, his energy was consistent, and I felt like times when maybe he didn't score as much as he wanted to or didn't produce, and he felt like he wanted to do more. We can kind of limit those and shorten those periods. And then a kid like Connor Gilkison just got better and better for us. Aiden Rady's another guy who's a returner, had an injury in the middle of the year, missed some time. I think benefited from the opportunity to kind of step back and watch. And kind of learn a little bit. And I think incorporated those things later in the year. Ironically, Connor, who I mentioned before, went through the same thing, started the year late due to injury. And then Harrison Ranger's a guy who was a local kid for us. His older brothers played for us as well. He's been associated with our program for a really long time. Just a good, hard-nosed, tough kid. Can play in every situation, has been a winner at every level he's played. And I think that's really important. And then a kid named Ryan Janik's a returning defenseman for us who's been in the league for a long time, played with Bay State before coming to us after they ceased operations, and did a really nice job. You forget sometimes that he's still only an 05 because he's played as much as he has, but another guy that we're going to lean on. And so we are kind of rebuilding a little bit on our back end. We only have two returning defensemen, so we're going to lean on Tony and Ryan a lot. And our goaltending, Presley Patron's a guy who's been with us for a while, Minnesota kid who's also battled injuries last year. I feel like I just keep saying that over and over again, but he's healthy. I just got his clearance, his full clearance today, so we'll get him back. And Peter Alfano did an awesome job in his absence last year and filled in admirably and did a really, really good job down the stretch for us last year. So, all those guys bring experience, but also I think each of those guys has a real thorough understanding of what we want this to look like.
Right.
And then, another guy I forgot to mention, this kid, Mitch Goodman, who's also going into his third year with us. And, Mitch is a guy his stat line doesn't tell the story of his contribution, just a hard-nosed kid who, if I'm honest, the first time he ever skated with us, we knew he was going to have to make some adjustments and grow, and he's responded to every challenge we put in front of him. So I think, those guys, each of them in their own way, kind of encapsulate what we are and what our ethos is as an organization. Like we want guys that are willing to accept a challenge and willing to take on something that's going to be really difficult, but hopefully lead to something tremendously rewarding at the end of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And with a large group of returners, it'll be nice to have for the younger players to have, this large group to look up to and, know what the Sea Captain way is all about.
Absolutely.
And as we talk about the East Division, you guys are in a unique situation playing the East Division showcase that will be held this year at St. Anselm's College. Talk about the unique experience that you guys will have at this showcase, being on a college campus and the exposure that it provides for your players.
I think it's an awesome opportunity. I mean, it's a program that we started last year, and I thought was great from a camaraderie standpoint, like getting all the teams in one building at one time.
Mhm.
It was a little more challenging this year with the addition of teams, so we get to 7. So it made it harder to have like a one-day event where everybody's in the building at once. So it definitely presented some scheduling challenges, but I think in the long run, getting everybody together, even if we're not physically together, but in the same place, even if it's not quite at the same time, is huge. I think playing at St. A's, a great facility, a great school, a great location for other schools even to come watch games
Mhm.
and see our guys in person. I've been associated. This will be my 6th year in the league, and it's gotten better. The East has gotten better every year, and the talent level, the depth of talent, the competitiveness of the games. There aren't teams just that. When I first joined the league, there were teams that were, fairly routinely getting blown out, and you could kind of rely on some point night sort of games, and
Right.
those have gone away, and that's awesome. So to get everybody there in the very very central part of the college hockey footprint in the East, and give guys an opportunity to show their wares there is great. Doing it on a Sunday, Monday, when very dead times for a lot of college coaches.
Right.
Hopefully we can get a bunch of people in the building and create a buzz at a time of the year when college recruiting is really starting to ramp up, but also where we kind of know what our teams are at that point too. Like if it's too early, I feel like sometimes you're still figuring out your own team and what
Right.
roles to put guys in for them to best showcase their abilities. By that point, November 24th, 25th, I think are the exact dates of it. I think by then, we know which guys should be on our power play, which guys should be killing. And I think that is important because when a college coach comes and watches a guy execute his role really well,
Mhm.
it allows that player to showcase himself the best way possible.
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but expand on the expansion of the East Division itself and how not only the East Division but the league has been able to grow over the 6 years, that you've been in the NA3.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, obviously, I think it's fairly well known that, the East has it's kind of fluctuated a little bit early during my time with it, and probably even before I was involved with the league. What's neat is we have a couple of teams that, have started to really establish themselves as for lack of a better word, flagship organizations in the East that
Hmm.
you can kind of say like, hey, they're going to be here for a long time. Like
Right.
you have zero reservations about their ability and desire to remain linked to the league and to each other. And so bringing on a couple of new partners in that respect, both of whom have NA teams, I think gives us a lot of confidence that their teams also that will also plan on being here for the long haul. And I think
Right.
that's good. It's healthy. It allows teams, in junior hockey, anytime there's a new team or a new coach, it almost feels like that franchise has to not maybe totally start over, but kind of take a step or two backwards before they can go forward again. And so to
Right.
hopefully have some consistency, and have franchises that are committed to the NA3, and even if it's in large part because they're committed to the NA and utilizing the ladder development, the affiliate process, the tenders, the draft picks to get more kids in our division opportunities to continue to move up.
Hmm.
I think our division has an inherent advantage on the college side just because of our location. And the ability to, for guys to see our players much more easily and more frequently than maybe players in some other divisions. So, I think it's great. And I think across the league, one of the things that I've really noticed about the new teams, is they're and this is no slight to anybody else, but they've come in and they've been incredibly professional, and incredibly prepared to come into the league and compete. And I think the days hopefully are gone of new teams coming in and going winless or winning one or two games. I
Hmm.
think there's a real an understanding of what organizations and coaches and teams need to do to prepare to have success in the league, both on and off the ice. And I think that I'm excited to. I mean, Maine's a great building. Going up there and playing up there is going to be an awesome experience for our guys and for the
Hmm.
rest of the division. Binghamton is another great facility. And again, having those teams be linked with NA teams and knowing that when we go and play in those buildings, that they're going to be NAIs on our guys as well,
Hmm.
I think is a really cool thing.
And with the season only just a few weeks away, what are you most looking forward to during the 2024-25 year?
Um, for me personally, I'll talk about me personally and then the team, I guess. For me personally, like I just can't wait to get to work with this group of guys. Like
Hmm.
I've really enjoyed the process of putting this team together and the people that we've been able to attract, the quality of the humans as well as the quality of the hockey players. And we lost some guys that we really enjoyed having here for a long time.
Hmm.
Some for a little less time, but really good kids. And I think when you know that you're going to have to bring in some new people, and then you're going to rely on them quickly, you want to be thorough about your process, and we've tried to do that, and we've tried to get kids that are really excited about being in Norwich, and
Hmm.
that are really excited about the opportunities that we present them both on and off the ice. And then I think for our team, we lost some important guys, and I think there's a little bit of um, a little bit of an attitude that yeah, we love those guys and they're really good players and respect the hell out of them, but we want to prove that we're more than just those guys, and that we
Right.
want to prove that guys can step in and fill some of the voids that are left by those guys moving on. And so I think there's a little bit of a chip on our shoulder mentality, which I think our organization will always have in large part because of that's just kind of part of who we are.
Hmm.
But I do think that there are some guys that feel like it's time for us to maybe really take that next step and get ourselves into a Fraser Cup and give ourselves an opportunity to really be associated with the top teams in the league and be in that same breath.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on this call today. And, we look forward to seeing what you guys can accomplish this year.
Thanks so much, Brett. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, have a good one.